Shalom everyone, and welcome back to Reboot the Root, where we are questioning the answers and we are on this journey to truth. And right now we are in an exciting series about learning how to read Hebrew. Yes, it's a big step for us to learn how to read Hebrew, because many of us may not feel comfortable learning a new language. Some of us are just comfortable with our language, and we think that learning another language will be hard. Well, I'm not going to say that learning another language isn't hard, but in my experiences, Hebrew is not that hard to learn, and it's actually fun because you can actually apply it right now. As you learn, you can learn to read the scriptures and practice learning your Hebrew. And as you learn Hebrew, you will begin to think more Hebraically. You will be able to understand the scriptures in a deeper form. So I want to encourage you to stick to this and to practice your Hebrew. Look for every opportunity to practice your Hebrew, and your eyes will be open, your knowledge will be expanded, because you will know what words really mean and what they don't mean as we were taught they meant. So this is all part of the journey to truth, and when we come into Hebrew roots, we learn that there are things that we didn't know that we want to know. And a tool that's going to help you is learning and studying Hebrew, okay? So thank you for joining me here. This is episode 9 of the series called Excuse My Hebrew. And I want to thank you for joining me. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Give me a like, give me a thumbs up, like on this video, and feel free to make a comment in the section below. But if you don't feel comfortable putting a public comment and you want to talk to me personally, you can email me at reboottherootjourney@gmail.com. Okay, well, last episode of Excuse My Hebrew, we went over the letters 3 and 4 of the Hebrew alphabet, and that was the Gimel and the Dalet letter. The Gimel and the Dalet. So far we have covered 4 letters with the Aleph, the Bet, the Gimel, and the Dalet. And now we are going to cover 2 more letters. We're at least going to cover the He letter and the Vav letter, if we don't cover any more than that. But I think that's all we're going to get to on this episode is 2 more letters. Okay, so we're going to be going over the He and the Dalet, okay? It's going to be very exciting letters to learn. So what we want to start here now is, let's put a letter on the screen. This is the He letter, okay? It looks kind of like a broken door, but it doesn't mean a door. It actually means a revelation or behold, okay? Revelation or behold. And this is the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which means it has a numerical letter of 5. So there are different ways that I've seen it spelled. I've seen it with H-E, H-E-I, or H-E-Y, okay? They all mean the same thing, He, okay? So it's the 5th letter. It has a picture that resembles a window, okay? As well as what the Paleo Hebrew kind of suggests. It's like part of a window, but it means a window. It also means, in a language sense, it means behold, look, or reveal, or revelation, okay? And so we have to remember this is it's a window. And this He is one of the important letters in the name of the Creator, Yod, He, Vav, He. So He it uses 2 letters in his personal name. And so that's important to learn, that part of Yahweh's name is behold, or revelation, okay? So let's take a look at some words that use the He letter. Okay, so here is a word that uses hey at the end of the word. You know, there's plenty of words we can come up with that are at the beginning, but it's important to see how they're used at the end. Okay? So one word you may have heard, maybe you haven't, it's called teshuvah. Teshuvah. And that means repentance. And so, and here the hey is at the end because it uses a tav, a sheen, a vav, a vet, and ends with a hey, okay, a hey. And then we have another word called shana. Shana, that means year. That hey is at the end of the Hebrew word that begins with a sheen and then a noon, and then it follows up with a hey. Then here's another word you may be interested in. It's called mishpachah. Mishpachah, and that means family, all right? And so that hey is at the end of the letter that uses a mem, a sheen, a pei, a het, and hey, I almost forgot myself there for a minute. So that is mishpachah with the hey at the end. Then we have hayom. Hayom means today. Hayom means today. It begins with a hey, followed by a yud, followed by a vav, and ends with a final meme. Okay, we've talked about the final memes. Not all words have a final meme. There are actually 5 letters that have a final meme in them. Okay. And so Hayom does have a final meme on it. And then, as we talked about before, Yahweh, that is, that doesn't mean God, but that's the personal name of Yahweh, Yod He Vav He, which begins with a Yud, followed by a He, followed by a Vav, and then ends with another He, Yod He Vav He. And that's up to each person to decide if it's pronounced Yahweh. There's other ways you could pronounce it and be valid. I personally think they're all valid, okay? I'm not one of these people that think it has to be my way or one particular way. I think everybody's right, okay? As long as you believe that in your heart, then that's what it is. And then we have a word that you may have heard of, is Hanukkah. Hanukkah, that means the Feast of Lights. That's what Hanukkah is. And by the way, if you'd like to know more about Hanukkah, I have a very interesting video series about Hanukkah that you might be interested in watching. It'll tell you what Hanukkah is all about, tells you what the history of Hanukkah is. It's one of the things I put in my history series that I plan on doing more of in the future. So go check out Hanukkah, okay? So Hanukkah is spelled with a het, a noon, a kaf, and a hey, okay? So that's Hanukkah, Hanukkah, Feast of Lights. All right, now we're going to move on to the letter. It's going to take up more of our time today, and that's called the Vav, or other people pronounce it as Wav. So it could be Vav, it could be Wav. Now, what I have found in my studies is if you say it's Vav, that comes from European dialects. It's called Ashkenazi. And if you call it a Wav, that comes from a Sephardic dialect, and that is from Spain, okay? So when you call Yahweh's name Yahweh, you're obviously you're going with a Sephardic version. I've heard people call his name Yahweh, and that could be legitimate too. But the Vav or the Wav kind of looks like a tent peg or a nail, does it not? Well, that's what it means. It means a nail, a tent peg, a stake, and it is the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Okay, so its numerical number is 6, and it means a hook, a peg, a nail, or a stake. And we see the versions here expressing itself in pictograph form and Paleo-Hebrew, okay? So looking at the screen here, we see the pictograph form, the Paleo form, and then the modern form. And it could be construed as Vav or Wah, and it means a hook, okay? So that is part of Yahweh's name, is a tent peg, a nail, a hook. So one thing we want to talk about, we talked about last episode about the dogish, okay? Remember we used the dogish not last episode, the dogish was in the first episode when we were talking about the bet versus the vet. Well, the vav can have a dogish too. It's sometimes the dot is on top of the vav, sometimes it's onto the inside of the letter vav. So the vav with a dogish will change the sound to an O or an U. And what's interesting about this letter is sometimes this letter is put in a word not as a consonant, but as a vowel, okay? So we see this word on the screen that I took you through before. It's already, I've taken you through this letter. It's called teshuva. So let's take a look and see how the vav is used in this as a vowel stressor, okay? So with the word teshuva, we see that there is a tav followed by a sheen, okay, followed by a vav, okay? So you see this vav has a dogish next to it. So in this instance, you would use this as an U sound, as in teshuva, okay? So we start with the tav, followed by the sheen, followed by the vav. That gives us a teshu sound. And then we finish up with the vet and then the hey, okay? Teshuva. So that's how the vav plays a part in pronouncing a word, okay? So sometimes you can see the vav with a dot in the middle. Sometimes it's on top of the vav. Sometimes the tav is expressed by, it looks like an I, like an English I, you know, a lowercase I where it has a staff with a dot on top. Well, that could also be represented as a vav too. It's not always looks like the vav with a hook on it. It can just be a straight I with a dot on top of it, which would mean the vav as well too. So here are some words that we can look at that uses the vav, okay? So we've already we haven't gone through this word. We have gone through this word, okay? It means good morning, and it is the Hebrew word boker tov. Boker tov means good morning. And so we see here we have the Hebrew letters bet, the vav, the kaf, and then the resh, okay, boker. So the vav in here is working with the bet to make a bow sound, boker tov, okay? And then we have the next word, which is called vayikra. Vayikra, if you've ever done the Torah portions, you know that means Leviticus, okay? Vayikra is Leviticus. So Vayikra actually starts with a vav. It makes a the sound, Vayikra, okay? And then so it starts with the vav, followed by the yud, followed by the kof with a q, kof sound, followed by the resh, and ends with the aleph, which is solid. So we vayikra, kof. Then we have the next one, which is hava. Hava means Eve. We know who Eve is, right? So that starts with a het, followed by a vav, and ends with a hey. Hava, hava. And you see the vowel point under the vav with an a sound, so it goes hava, fa, va. And then we have the next one, David. Well, we know who David is, right? So that starts off with the resh. You see the little, you see how it looks different than the resh? The David, the dalet, it goes up and then makes a quick left. It looks like a 7, and then it has that, it has a vowel point under there to say it has a da sound. And then the vav, it has an sound, a little dot under there. David, and then it ends with the dalet on the bottom. So it's a very simple word. It just has the dalet, the vav, and the dalet, David, okay? And then we've already gone over this word before, which is Yahweh. It's the personal name of God. We have the Yod, the He, the Vav, and the He, okay? So that is our Hebrew letter of Vav or Wav on your dependents, okay? So that's all the time we have for this episode 9 of Excuse My Hebrew. And we're having a lot of fun here, aren't we? Looking at Hebrew words by looking at Hebrew letters, okay? And it's fun to put the letters together and see if we can recognize how they're spelled. You know the saying, practice makes perfect? Well, that applies to learning Hebrew. You have to practice your Hebrew or you lose it. You have to always be practicing, okay? And anyway, this is it for this episode of Excuse My Hebrew. And I want to end this episode by wishing you, not wishing, we don't want to wish, I hope that your life will be filled with shalom as you study Hebrew, and I ask that the Lord will bless you as you learn Hebrew, that it be a blessing to you.